Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Overweight Cyclist, where I ride an MTB and tell stories. Today, I'll tell you a story about a single father and his dying son. Please enjoy the read and the ride. Subscribe to get notified about more such stories. The small house at the end of Sycamore Lane was filled with the constant beeping of medical monitors. It was a sound that had become the background score of their lives, one that David Sanderson could not escape even in his dreams. His son, Charlie, lay in the bed, pale and frail, his young life tethered to a machine that counted down the seconds between each painful heartbeat. Charlie had been diagnosed with a rare heart disease that caused his heart to stop intermittently, leading to near-stroke episodes that left him in excruciating pain. Doctors had tried everything, but no cure could be found. The disease left Charlie bedridden, isolated from the world. He was unable to play with other children, take a bath, or even use the washroom alone. His life was a series of long, agonizing waits for the next attack. David, a single father, had given up everything to care for his son. He left his job and devoted every waking moment to Charlie's care, feeding him, reading to him, and trying to keep his spirits up. But it was never enough. The boy's suffering was a constant, gnawing pain in David's heart. One bleak winter day, they visited the hospital again. The doctors had no new answers, no new treatments. They spoke in hushed tones about the minimal chance of success for a heart transplant given Charlie's condition. The novelty of the disease made them wary of risking a healthy heart on such an uncertain outcome. Desperation clawed at David as he listened to the prognosis. His son's life was slipping away, and he was powerless to stop it. As the doctors left the room, David stared at the medical instruments scattered on the table. His eyes locked onto a scalpel, its blade gleaming under the fluorescent lights. A wild, desperate idea took hold of him. He knew it was madness, but he also knew that he would do anything to save his son. When the doctor returned, David stood up, his face pale but resolute. "I want you to take my heart," he said, his voice steady. The doctor looked at him in shock. "Mr. Sanderson, you know that's not possible. We can't risk." "Please," David interrupted, his voice breaking. "He's all I have. I can't watch him suffer anymore. I can't. Even if we were to consider it, the chances of success are incredibly slim. We could lose both of you." David's hands shook as he picked up the scalpel. "Then let my death mean something. Let it be my dying wish." Before the doctor could react, David slashed his own throat, collapsing to the floor in a pool of blood. Chaos erupted as nurses and doctors rushed to save him, but his wound was fatal. With his last breath, David whispered, "Save my son." The hospital was thrown into turmoil. The ethics of the situation were hotly debated, but David's final plea could not be ignored. In a desperate, unprecedented decision, the doctors prepared for the transplant. Hours later, Charlie awoke from the anesthesia, his chest bandaged and his heart beating steadily for the first time in years. The transplant had been a success against all odds. But as he looked around, confusion and fear clouded his eyes. "Where's my dad?" he asked weakly. The doctor knelt beside him, tears in his eyes. "Your father loved you very much, Charlie. He wanted to give you a chance at life. He's gone, but he'll always be with you. His heart is beating inside you now." Charlie's small hand clutched at the bandages over his chest, tears streaming down his face. He understood the sacrifice, the enormity of what his father had done. The pain of loss mingled with a newfound strength, a heartbeat that would carry his father's love forever. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Overweight Cyclist, where I ride an MTB and tell stories. Today, I'll tell you a story about a thief, a murderer, and diamonds. Please enjoy the read and the ride. Subscribe to get notified about more such stories. Jake had always prided himself on being a careful and skilled burglar. He meticulously scoped out vacant houses, ensuring no trace of his presence. That night was supposed to be like any other, a simple break-in, a quick grab of valuables, and a clean getaway. But as he stepped into the dimly lit house on Elm Street, everything changed. Jake had learned from his sources that the lone owner of the house was out of town for a month. As he quietly moved through the rooms, he saw an unsettling sight in the study. The owner lay sprawled on the floor, lifeless, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Beside her was an open briefcase, and scattered around it were glistening diamonds. His heart pounded, but the thief in him took over. He quickly pocketed the diamonds, leaving the briefcase untouched. Panic set in as he realized the gravity of the situation. Jake knew he couldn't leave without taking some action. He slipped out of the house and, from a nearby payphone, made an anonymous tip to the police about a body in the house on Elm Street. The next few days were a blur of anxiety. The news reported the discovery of the body, and soon, Jake found himself a suspect. His fingerprints and boot prints were all over the scene. He was arrested and, under interrogation, claimed he found the woman dead when he broke in. No one knew about the diamonds, and he kept it that way. The police found another set of fingerprints at the scene, prints that didn't match anyone in their records. They assumed these belonged to an accomplice of Jake, intensifying their interrogation and search. Security footage from nearby properties revealed a shadowy figure leaving the house just as Jake broke in. The figure was unrecognizable, but the police were convinced Jake had scared him off. After intense questioning, the police released Jake on the condition that he wouldn't leave the city. That night, Jake's world turned upside down once more. A man, the same shadowy figure from the footage, appeared at his door. He barged in, a gun in his hand, demanding the diamonds. Jake's fear was palpable as he denied knowing anything about the diamonds. The man, enraged, tore through his house, searching every nook and cranny. Jake knew that whether the diamonds were found or not, his life was in danger. As the man ransacked the place, the sound of a door breaking down echoed through the house. The police had followed Jake. They stormed in, catching both men off guard. The bullet matched the gun. The murder weapon was found. The man told the officers about the diamonds, implicating Jake further. Jake vehemently denied ever seeing the diamonds beside the body, while the man insisted that he left her diamonds. The police, skeptical of both stories, took them into custody for further questioning. Weeks passed, and through relentless investigation, the police found enough evidence to convict the man of murder. His fingerprints also matched the ones at the crime scene. Jake, however, was only found guilty of breaking and entering, as his fingerprints were nowhere near the body and were only on the windows and doors. The diamonds remained a mystery. After serving his time, Jake was a free man, but the shadows of that night lingered. He found himself drawn to a small, neglected cemetery on the outskirts of the city. There he stood before a modest grave, his mother's. Tears welled up as he placed flowers on her grave. As he knelt, his fingers brushed against the soft earth. Slowly, he dug into the ground, revealing a small, wet pouch. His heart raced as he opened it, revealing the diamonds he had hidden that fateful night. Jake stood up, looking around to make sure he was alone. He knew the police believed the diamonds were lost forever, but now they were his. Jake's plan to consciously plant his fingerprints around the scene worked perfectly.